I'd like to call to order the committee of the whole for September 17th, 2024 at 5:38 p.m. Attendance roll call.
Alderpersons Wolf.
Here.
Hamel is absent. Decker.
Here.
Schwer.
Here.
Schrader.
Here.
Kubaki.
Here.
Madden.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Thank you. Statement of public notice.
This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law on Friday, September 13th, 2024.
Approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Approval of the minutes from the committee of the whole from July 23rd, 2024.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. New business, 2025 capital projects fund budgets, Test Corner Volunteer Fire Department. Jeff, would you like to come up and see if there's any questions for you in your packet on page 25? I think it's still on. Oh, okay. Nope. So Test Corners is asking for, if you look in your packet, they've got a trying to break this out here. A vehicle replacement of an ambulance, correct?
That's a fire truck.
Okay, fire engine at $950,000 and various, what's the equipment that you're asking for on this one?
On the truck itself, or?
Well, there's a separate line item of 30, no?
Anything that's over 500,000.
So it's just a 950, okay. So it's just the fire truck. Any questions from this? Do you want to maybe tell the council what this is replacing and the life of this one?
We have a 1996 pumper that we're replacing. The department likes to keep in some type of rotation so that we're not asking for so many pieces of equipment at the same time, especially with the ticket cost of these things. So we just like to keep a 20 to 25 year life expectancy, depending on how the piece of equipment, holds up. Because it gets to a point where it's more expensive to try and repair it than it is to replace it. And these things, when they get 20 years old, the new technology and everything that the NFPA requires us to have in our fleet, it gets more and more restrictive. So we try and keep it as long as we can, but then it's to a point where, and they have to be replaced.
Any questions for?
When was the last time we have more than one pumper, right? When was the last time we replaced a pumper?
I don't have the figures in front of me, or the dates in front of me right now. It was, we have 4 stations where we have 4 pumpers, frontline pumpers. So one at for each station. And the one that we're replacing right now is at our station number 2. So it's our frontline right out of station 2.
Well, the reason I asked is I thought we replaced one a few years back. I don't know exactly when, but I thought it was in the $500,000 range.
More than likely wasn't a pumper if it was 500,000.
Just a regular truck.
We just did an ambulance a couple of years ago, didn't we?
Ambulances are running right now between the mid 350s to almost 400,000, depending on how you get it equipped. But that too, most of them they're all now diesel. They have the environmental restrictions on them where they have to have the diesel exhaust fuels systems put in. So we're not able to be grandfathered in and just remotor the piece of equipment. So we have to actually have a new piece of equipment coming in, and that's even on the larger trucks. They've all have got to be up to the code, if you will, and make sure that they are environmentally safe to be running.
Okay.
The reason I bring that up is I'm just looking here. That's a lot of difference here. And you don't have the answers on when we last replaced that. So you went out for bids on this? Are we going with only one company? What are we doing?
We use Pierce Manufacturing out of Appleton.
And that's what we standardize on for all our equipment now?
All the frontline pumpers are Pierce, because of the way that we can require them to have the same cabinetry, so that when you go and
Yeah,
say,
these
I
equip
want
the same,
this
yeah.
wrench, it's gonna be the same one in all four trucks.
So everybody knows where to look for something, it'll be in the same spot, I got it.
Right.
Are we on any type of buying program or anything where we can take a look at pricing, or you just go to Pierce and you get a price, or?
Well, right now, it's supply and demand. When we talk to our representatives from Pierce, depending on when the order actually goes in, it could be a year to as max of 4 years before we receive that truck. So, we're hoping to lock in a price so that we're not coming back for more funding on this. So we're going there and here to make sure, we can get it in the mail, so we can pick it up.
So there's no state buying program or anything for these trucks? I mean, did we
I
look into
believe-
anything?
Pretty much, because only governments buy it. It's, their price is what they are. It's, they
Well, I
kind
thought
of
when
have,
we
they kind
bought-
of have the market. It's, there's, besides Pierce, there's only a couple other
Yeah, there's a few other
fire
ones.
truck manufacturers, but once you
Fully
standardize.
standardized, yeah, I know
Right.
that.
E1 is a very popular one, but a lot of we feel that we have the pleasure of dealing with Pierce because they're so close to us. If we have a problem with it, it's a hour and a half drive up the road and we can get it taken care of. They have service stations, like one out towards the Wapaka area. So then they take specialty, they'll do electronic out in, I can't remember the name of the town, but it's right before Wapaka.
Oshkosh or something out there?
It's close to the Oshkosh area, and in fact, I have a family there, and I can't remember the name of the town.
Kimberly.
But we have been using Pierce. Well, the one we're replacing is a 1996 Pierce.
I understand that. I just know that last time we went through this, we went from like 600 and some thousand down to 500 and some thousand by investigating a little more rather than just going to Pierce and getting a quote and saying that's it. I don't know what happened in between. I don't know your history. You guys do what you do, but I just remember that we saved money and I don't know how it happened.
Well, it's been a while before we actually went out there. The past and present chiefs are pretty happy with the performance that we get on a piece of equipment.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just talking about getting quotes and buying groups and things like that. I just remember we saved a lot of money and I don't see the preparedness here or the answers of it to understand that this is the real price of it. I mean, this is $1 million here. I mean, this is a lot of money. And if there's other funds available to bring that down through a buying group or something.
We sold the old equipment, I think.
Yeah, that
was
had
part of it.
nothing to do with it, because we always buy stuff like dump trucks and police, and we never put that into the price. It's like, oh, it's 46,000, and then we sell it for 10, but we never see the 10 come back. So really, it should be 36,000 instead of 46,000 on our bid, but we don't do that. We put the money back in the general.
Actually, you do
We
see
put it
it.
back in the general fund.
Well, yeah, correct.
But we don't
But-
see it on paper, so I mean, we could sell that for, that truck's probably worthless, right? I mean, when you resell them, what are you gonna get out of it, you know?
Well, we open it up to, there is a buying sector that actually will take a look at older trucks, and it usually has to do with rural fire departments. I mean, we don't get a lot of money from them.
No, I mean, you won't get
like I said-
$100,000 from it, that's my point, you know?
No,
I mean,
and same with the ambulances. We go through ambulances more than we do go through fire trucks. We like to rotate our ambulances every 3 to 6 years. But with the fire truck, you're looking at the amount of money that is being spent on it. It's a shame that when we open it up for an open market for bids and stuff, if we get $10,000 to $12,000.
You know, you see them at flea markets, selling
Yeah.
popcorn. But I'm still stuck on how we saved money last time, and I don't see how we get to this 950 without really investigating that.
Well, I guess I'll defend the.
Well, last time we didn't investigate it, and the price came down after we investigated it, so. I mean, I know
Do you-
inflation's
I guess
bad.
we haven't bought one since I've been here, so I guess
No,
if you could
we
enlighten me on, what they did, I do recall from years ago. The only way you can really, I mean, if you're gonna switch to a different brand, but, I mean, you're.
Actually, we switched to Pierce last time.
Well, they've been using Pierce since I was
Well, the one
involved in
truck we
20.
replaced, we switched to Pierce that I'm talking about.
You've pretty
I
much
don't-
been using Pierce your whole existence, haven't you?
Pretty much so. I mean, I believe
Muskego,
that.
Muskego would, they use something else, but Muskego has been in existence for 20 years.
So it might have been a
Mine.
20-year-old truck. I mean, we wait 20, 25 years, right? I mean, that's what we do. I'm just saying, I'd like to see some investigation on this. I mean, it's $1 million and,
No, I mean, he's.
maybe I'm crazy.
Minimizing
Maybe
that, but
nobody else wants to do that. I don't know.
I'm not minimizing that, and we would all like to see savings, but when you've decided to standardize on something, they do have you, because they only sell to government, so there's no government pricing. It's not like.
You don't have to justify it to me. I just brought it up to the question and there was no answer. There was no answer. So I'm pressing the issue of getting an answer. I mean, we should look into this. We should have you bring $1 million policy, a spending bill to the council, you should be able to answer a simple question that you investigated on, is this our best price? Yes or no? Yeah, we took a bid and that's it. I mean, we just got one price out there, $950,000. So if you guys want to pass it, pass it.
I just like to say I appreciate you scheduling these things out so that there aren't surprises in the future. This has been on our agenda for a long time, as well as the ambulance for the next year, the pumper after that, the engine after that. So I just want to let you know that I appreciate that advanced view so that we don't get surprised at these meetings.
Well, thank you, but, the majority of the people that are on the department are also taxpayers. They want to make sure that, we're not overstepping our bounds also.
I just have to say, Kevin, that we put that in place to have that pushed out so many years, back 10 years ago, to have that, because we were buying, things were coming up on the council that we weren't prepared for. So, it's nice that they do it, but we put it in place so it does get done.
Are you saying the 5-year capital plan is new for the fire departments?
No.
Because we did this when I was an alderman back in 2000.
Yeah, but sometimes things were getting on there, and then we started asking more and more for more details so that we weren't surprised that this popped up a year or two from now rather than 5 years out.
Any other questions? Any objections to this?
Well, I'm kind of along with what Rob's saying. Is there any way to look at something else just to see what other cost
We can ask them to non-standardize it, and yes, they could do that. They can come back, we can have them come back with a price from a competing truck, which would have a different layout, changes their standardization. So yes, I mean, you have that full control to do that. You can ask them to do that, and we can defer this for, see if they can get some kind of pricing in the next week or so. We have 2 more meetings that that we are planning on talking about this. So, and we can always extend that out even further if you need to. But if you want to have them come back with that, I'll tell you, your fire departments like having standardization for a safety standpoint. I mean, you have a fire, you don't want to start thinking, well, what truck am I at? Because with the equipment they're grabbing is standardized from every truck has the same stuff in the same place. And when you go to a different manufacturer, if you have a different truck in there, that one truck might have something different. And yes, they could overcome that, but they do that for a safety reason. And
Well, I would think things change over the years too with the
But
trucks.
we
that
pay.
update and.
Well, he can speak to that more than I can, but I can say, you pay for having that standardization. I get that, because they literally have you. And if you're going to threaten to switch, you're probably going to get a really good price from the competitor, because they're going to hope that you're going to change your standardization over them. That might happen. But the second and third truck you get from them, it's a risk, and you're paying for it. So if you guys want to do that, it's up to you guys. It's your call.
I just have the one question that wasn't answered, and I don't have a problem pushing this through and getting it. I mean, we need the fire trucks. I'm not beating up the fire department or anything. I just want the one question. They need, there's no other group. I mean, everything we do, we go through groups and there's state fund prices and everything. I just want to know that's what happened.
Yeah.
That wasn't answered. That's my whole concern here.
And Jeff, jump in if I'm incorrect on this, but my understanding is they have an estimate of what the cost will be. Now, once they get approval of it, they'll actually get a true invoice of what that truck will be. They'll lock in their pricing. They may not get that truck for up to 4 years now, but they're going to lock in the pricing now. And that will be whatever the pricing is. And more times than not, it's always less than what we have here, that's what they're gonna be paying, but they have to put an estimate in here until they have approval.
I don't-
Because they can't get
It's still not answering my question. I understand all that.
So I guess
They need to go
I'm
back.
missing
They need-
your question.
They just need to come back to us with an answer. That's all they need to do.
What is your specific question?
Is this
I'm failing and missing it.
is this just a single quoted price? Is there a discount for being in the government or
There
anything?
is, I can answer that. There is no discount for being in the government.
There's no discounts.
There's no, because all they do is sell to government.
Okay.
Most of the discounts that were even available through dealerships for police vehicles have been suspended. They're just not in existence anymore, Rob.
But even with
And I'm
those,
not willing to.
there's another market for that. Like if
Right.
you're buying, when we're buying our plow trucks and everything, there's a private sector for that equipment. There is no private sector for.
But there's competition. But yeah, I understand that.
Well, I, for one, am not willing to trade off
No, we standardize.
money
I agree to
for
standardize.
safety of.
Yeah, I agree.
Of our firefighters as well as our constituents. I mean, they want to be out there, they want to have equipment they can rely on, they know where things are. I'm not willing to sacrifice that.
I don't think anybody is.
So are you proceeding with this?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, human resources. It'll be on page 5 in your booklet.
All right, so this is a software solution that would allow us to digitalize our onboarding process. So when we onboard employees now, we have a paper process and it's redundant because we have to take the paper, scan the paper, enter the paper. This would be an integrated solution that would even allow us to do virtual onboarding processes with our new employees, which would be very helpful, especially with our rec department, since we have so many seasonal employees that come in each year and they have to do specific paperwork. So I'm requesting, basically, it's through NeoGov, which is our applicant tracking system that we currently have. It's an integrated, software package, and it would just be a great benefit and help in our onboarding process.
And again, I'm going to ask the question, we have a quote for this price?
Yes, I have a quote. I attempted to get a quote from a couple of vendors, but this was something that I feel was the best option in what I looked at and the different software packages that I looked at. I thought NeoGov would be the best option.
So how much was the quote?
So the quote, if I pull it up here, I'm recommending the onboarding, so that's just shy of $10,000. If we want to do a 2-year, they would reduce the annual license fee by 20%. So 2-year contract would be about $14,300. So it's a little less than what I made the request for.
So the total number you're asking for is 14,300
Yes.
versus the 25?
So put 15,000 in
Yeah,
there?
15.
Any other questions? Any objections? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is library. Brittany, page 27.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm just gonna bring up some images, hopefully. Excellent. Thank you, Carrie.
No, she's got it there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So the library has one request this year. This request has been on our capital plan the past 5 years. The parking lot is original to the building, so it is 24 years old. It'll be 25 in 2025. The last asphalt ceiling was done in 2019. The reconstruction, which would be a 2-inch mill, would assist with leveling slope, potholes, cracks, the drainage pipe that was added sort of aftermarket, that is sort of this little minor bump that runs through our parking lot. I received 3 quotes from different companies. They ranged from about $190,000 to about $220,000, so I sort of picked in the middle. The intent is to take this project to bid. Scott had said kindly that they could roll it into the roads program when they take it out to bid as sort of that add-on alternate, so it could be part of that process. So that would be efficient and hopefully get us the best rate for this project. We did a couple of things as we were assessing aside from just visually looking at it. The first is that we took drone footage. So thank you to the IT department for getting the drone footage. So I'm just gonna sort of run through the pictures. I know they're kind of hard to see sometimes, the level of detail. I will have some close-up images later. But there are areas where you're going to see, throughout there were cracks that have been sealed. The alligator cracking, which is where it looks like, someone's dropped something and it's just completely shattered. Larger patches. We have this is the aftermarket drainage pipe that was installed. I wouldn't call it an aggressive speed bump. It's more just a gentle little bump. So I don't want to over-exaggerate it, but it's there. So you can see we have manhole cover. This has been either rising or the parking lot is sinking. Pick your flavor on that. We've tried to seal it, but this ends up getting really slippery, and especially in the winter. Lots of cracking going on in that top corner. I'm gonna flip around. There will be a close-up of this, and I'll talk about this in a minute. This is right where our dumpsters are, so you can see, because the cement slab only comes out this far, and just due to the weight of the garbage trucks over 24 years, that area is really starting to degrade. The purpose of this project is threefold. The first and most obvious is just to maintain the overall surface at 24, 25 years old in a 4-season state. It is, it's held up really well, but it's nearing its end of life. We did core samples. Ryan in DPW was kind enough to do that for us to determine we only need a 2-inch mill and not a 4-inch mill down, which does save us some money there. This is that alligator cracking that I'm talking about. It's happening in a variety of places throughout the parking lot. And as you can see, once one piece chips up, and that's when the snow and the ice starts coming in and it starts creating larger holes and breakage sections. That's where the dumpster is right there. Aside from just an overall resurfacing, the second goal is to extend out the cement slab so that in the future, the weight of the trucks will be better supported. And that will preserve the investment in the parking lot. The third goal is, I want to point this out. This may not look like much. It had rained and the puddles used to be deeper. You can't really see the depressions here, but over time you can see where just tires and people parking. So when it rains, this area gets filled with puddles. There's another example, that one, just the leveling of it is, due to drainage, you want it to roll off, but the water's just sort of staying there in certain areas. This is a close-up of what the drainage pipe looks like. The drainage pipe is in good condition. We did have a camera run through it. Again, thank you to Ryan and his team for doing that. So the edges are, eroding with time. The other thing that I asked Ryan to do is for him to give me a Paiser rating for the parking lot. Now, I know we typically don't do that for parking lots. That's more of a road thing. But since we're talking about city surfaces and we're talking about assessing them, I just asked him to give me his estimate of what he would consider, if this were a road, what would he consider it? And he said a 3 to a 4. And I know there are a lot of roads and a lot of city surfaces to consider. So as you're considering this request, I want to recall back to something Ryan said at the previous meeting in August, which was they want to keep the good roads good. And so those are the ones that they focus on with the striping and the sealing. And I believe the number he used was if it's a 6 or above, those are the ones that they're going to continue to maintain and put that investment into. So the fact that the parking lot is a 3 to a 4, it's past that. Let's put a lot of money into it. We did a seal coating in 2019, but I've held off on doing anything else because I just don't want to throw more money at it until I could at least bring this before you for your consideration. The third goal of this project is to slightly widen the entryway off of Janesville Road. Now, because Janesville is a county road, I did proactively reach out and get verbal permission from them to actually do that widening. We'd have to actually submit the formal paperwork, but they did say yes. And the purpose for that, and I'll pull the picture back up, not that this does a whole lot because it's not a live shot, but when people are, if someone's trying to turn out of the library parking lot and someone else is trying to turn in, there's a hesitation there more often than not. And it is a standard width, so it's not like it's abnormally small and that's why we're having that problem. I don't know what the reason is, but we see it quite frequently that people are turning in, making a left, and if there's someone else here turning right, they start to slow down as they're crossing the oncoming traffic, which is not something we want. And so if we have the opportunity to do the reconstruction of the parking lot, since it's in the condition that it's in, it would be a cost-effective time to also slightly widen that to just make it safer. So
It might be beneficial to stripe that entrance on the way too, so you have 2 defined lanes. So when people are pulling it out, they know what their target is.
that is a very good idea. I agree.
The trees and signs or nothing, the light, nothing has to be moved if you widen that? I can't tell really on this picture.
So I love trees. I do believe it is possible we may have to remove this tree here. I would widen on, I don't know if you can see with my mouse moving, I would widen on the right if you're trying to leave the library parking lot.
And there's no light on that side?
Exactly.
It's on the other side?
Exactly, yeah, so there's no light on that side. It may just need branch trimming. I will save the tree if I can, but.
Branches will grow back. I don't think you need to get into this anymore. I don't see a problem with this. I think it would probably be less money, hopefully, if fuel stays where it's at now compared to probably when you got your bids. Because gas has come down, oil has come down a little bit. And it's land fund funds. The lot's not gonna get any better. And we can resurface. I mean, you had people out there and they said that, some of those spider spots and stuff can just be resurfaced?
So it's not a ceiling, it is a reconstruction. So they'll grind it down 2 inches, remove everything, and then put a whole new 2-inch layer.
Some of those spots are already grinded down 2 inches.
So I did build in a contingency because there are going to be areas that do need a bit more support. This number, this 200,000, also does factor in, let me get the number right for you, a 10% inflation estimate. So it's possible this won't cost as much as I have quoted, but I wanted to be prepared. I didn't want to get 2/3 through the parking lot and then realize I didn't have enough money. So when I spoke with the companies and I asked them what inflation estimate would you expect for 2025, they gave that to me. So this number, this 200,000, it includes, between the three quotes, I picked sort of a median number, and then I added a contingency total for the areas that are going to be worse than the 2-inch mill. And then I also included the inflation. Hopefully it won't cost that much, especially if we take it to bid and package it with the roads program, if that's
That's a good point. That does include the other road going off towards Pick and Save, right? Okay.
correct. Yep.
Any other questions?
That includes the concrete work and the widening, everything?
Yep, it includes the concrete. The concrete work would, at least based on the three quotes that I received, they said they didn't do concrete work, so that would have to be done by a secondary contractor. But yes, all of it includes the widening, the concrete slab, and the reconstruction.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the parking lot? Any objections? Any questions for Brittany on any of, that's really the only item you have this year, but she does have some items that are going to be coming up. Any questions on future years, things that you want to give her?
May I just make one remark about 2017? The council was kind enough to give the library money this year to sandblast and powder coat the light poles. The goal was because that is cheaper than replacing them. And I just want you to know I'll be returning some of that money, and you're going to still see rusted light poles. And I just didn't want you to drive by and wonder what happened. We started taking down the poles, and remember, these poles are 24, 25 years old. They're not the same age as the ones on Janesville. And Ryan and his crew discovered that they are degrading on the inside at a level they're working right now. And so we're going to squeeze out a couple more years on them. But he did not recommend, and I do not recommend putting any more money into refinishing them. Right now, the rust is surface level, so it's not dangerous. We were hoping to refinish them so that, again, we could get a certain ROI on them, and investing any more in them wouldn't do that. So I just want to let you know that I've now put in a request for replacement poles a little bit later in this 5-year plan, but I didn't want you to drive past and wonder. And if anyone expresses concern about the poles, just know that it's in the plan, and unfortunately we have to move to a second option, so.
Okay, if it's just surface rust, are we talking where the bolts are going? Is that the problem? Or if it's surface rust, it should be no problem to blast them and paint them.
It's not anymore. There are areas where it's,
It's going through?
yeah,
Well, it's,
I mean, but it's
not by the bolts, but like in the, it's,
in the
there's
stem? Or,
the fear of sanding down what we have left of good metal, of going through and sandblasting them and then powder coating them would probably wreck more of them than we'd be able to save.
I was just checking, because she said surface rust, and I'm like, that's,
yeah, let me.
thanks.
So I didn't bring I don't have a picture on my computer, but the rust on the outside, there are no holes in the poles right now, right? So like they're not gonna fall over. But when the insides of the poles, it's just like the mechanicals they're gonna start to fall apart as they're taking them down. And so we could sandblast and powder coat them, and they'd probably last a couple more years, but I think given right now, at first it was, this is something that if we keep letting it rust, it'll eventually get through, so we want to be proactive about it. Now it's more like we could sandblast and powder coat it. I could still do it, but I just think it's putting money at something that's going to fail internally sooner than we wanted to. So I just wanted to mention that, so.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Brittany?
next year you've got a major project coming up. What's the composition of a roof there now?
Do
Is
you
it
mean like
asphalt
what
roof?
materials on it?
Yep.
It's a shingle. I don't know how to
So it's
explain.
an
to you.
asphalt shingle, it's a standard roof material?
Yep,
Okay.
standard shingles. So you'll keep hearing me say it's 24 years old, it's 25 years old. So yeah, it's the roof's original to the building. We're starting to have shingles blow off every now and then. Sometimes water leaks through, just little drips right now, ceiling tiles that get wet. That's not been super frequent, but again, I want to be proactive. Obviously, the roof protects a large asset that is the building and everything that's in it. The gutters are, they have seams, they're not seamless. And so what's happening is the water falls through the gutters and onto the ground. And then if it's winter, it freezes. So we've started to put diverters on the roof. There is ice damming that's occurring. And I have a picture which I'll show you next year, but these are the icicles that are hanging off of the building in the winter. So clearly there's ice damming going on that we want to correct. We had someone go up on the roof to just try to seal the gutters to prevent the water from coming through, and they came down with a few buckets full of shingle grain. So like obviously because the shingles are older, the grain is washing off of the base cardboard or whatever that
Asphalt.
yeah, whatever the base part of it is. And so clearly the shingles don't have the same layered protection that they used to. So yeah, it's a big number. I'm sorry.
Any other questions for Rudy? All right, thank you. Chief?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Chief will be starting on page 12.
Digital radar. If you pay attention to those, that the quote is for closer.
Yep.
Those are the stationary radar units that you've seen around town, specifically on Woods Road, Test Corners Drive, Bay Lane Drive. If you're not aware of it, probably the biggest complaint that we get as a police department is speed enforcement. This is one of those speed mitigation techniques, and we also utilize the data in there. It's a Bluetooth technology that we get, and we're able to do speed studies on those specific signs. This is for 2 signs. We've been adding these in every year since I've been chief in order to be able to target high-speed areas. Any questions?
And you're replacing 2 that were stolen? Is that what you're doing?
We already replaced those out of our operational budget, and we helped those individuals on Woods Road. This is basically 2 new additional signs.
And they lock, right? The ones that lock.
We have a technology that we're not going to disclose here in an open meeting of making sure that we don't have those stolen again. But right now, it's specifically targeted for McShane Drive and then other speed high areas in the city.
Questions, comments? Any objections? Okay, next.
Page 13, you're going to see rifles. These are for 3 additional rifles. We do have a partnership with Muskego Norway School District. They have agreed to buy safes for the middle school and then an additional safe at the Muskego High School in a different section of the school so that we can add rifles to the schools specifically for those SROs that are in that building. And if you understand, the school doesn't want to be in the business of buying rifles, so they bought the safes, and we're going to buy the rifles as a matter of making sure that we have that capacity if needed at multiple locations throughout the schools.
Questions? Any objections?
So this is these 3 rifles,
Yes, sir.
because last year's rifles were 2 for 12, so these are cheaper, huh?
These are cheaper because the ones last year were like long range that had a different optic system for the long hallways. Those are kept actually in the squad cars. These are going to be specific to the school resource officers.
Okay, thank you.
Next, page 14 is shields. Roughly speaking, this is one we don't have a quote for yet, but we're looking for approval on rifle-rated shields. If you understand anything about shields, the technology has increased exponentially. They're very heavy, and every single year they also expire. And so we're looking to make sure that we are keeping a rifle-rated shield in a squad car. We have shields for pistols, but not for rifle specifically, so that's where this quote comes from.
How many are you anticipating getting for that?
Right now, it's not, it's anywhere from 8 to 13,000, depending on where you're at. So I would say that at this point, this is a don't spend more than this amount. So the answer is 1.
Really?
Okay. Questions? Objections?
Next is another one we don't necessarily have a bid for. However, what I came up with the money for winter jackets at 20,000, and I'm looking to outfit 40 of those. Well, we have 41 sworn, so at 40, so I would go without a jacket. But if you understand, I have been reusing, and we have all been reusing our jackets for my entire 20-year career. We've been repurposing them, putting on patches, and the technology has changed a lot in 20 years. I'm hoping to get something with Gore-Tex. We're budgeting $500 per officer to make sure that we have top-of-the-line equipment for when it's cold outside, and we make sure that they fit. In addition, onto that same line item, you're going to see weather gear for our skip personnel. If you're not familiar with it, we have 6 personnel that are part of our combined suburban critical incident team, and that has also been hand-me-down Gore-Tex gear from the military that we've used in the past, and it has not been upgraded in 20 years. So we're looking to get approval on wet weather and cold weather gear.
And this gear, the officer takes with them, right? They keep it with them?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
It would be in their squad car or in their bag. Alderman Wolf, if you've been to our PD, which I know you have, we have like the lockers upstairs have like their jackets and their go stuff, while other stuff is in their lockers downstairs.
Questions? Objections?
Next, you're going to talk about Flock, and Flock is a technology and it's an investigative tool. Basically, they are stationary cameras that we use in the city of Muskego. We have implemented them this year as a matter of some of our operating budget, but I've signed a contract for a couple in key locations in the city. If you pay attention to what's going on with crime here in the city of Muskego, I can tell you that the vast majority of crime is not perpetrated by residents of the city of Muskego. So this is a technology that we can use that monitors automated license plate readers at stationary locations, and then it's connected to a nationwide database that we can track and try to find vehicles. We've had numerous success stories. Some of the money, I will tell you, Fleet Farm donated to help with this endeavor to start up the program. And obviously, if you pay attention, some of the cameras are in the vicinity of College Avenue and Racine Avenue, Moreland, and Janesville currently. What I'm asking you to do is to increase that technology to 3 additional cameras on the south side of the city. And I think I put in the notes where those are. We don't necessarily advertise where those are, but you can pay attention if you look around the community of where those cameras are located.
So how many cameras do you get for the money here?
That's going to cover all of them. That's going to be 7. They're $3,000 in the annual cost.
Oh, there's an annual cost to them?
Which is why it goes into every year that you look in, and if you look ahead into 2026, 2027, that's the contract that I'm looking to sign to add on the south side of the city.
So are we purchasing these, leasing them?
It is a program where you basically lease them. They are our cameras.
Licensing.
It's licensing.
You're licensing the software, you own the camera.
Correct.
Okay.
There's an installation fee, but then it's also connected to our Axon fleet and our squad cams, so we can basically use it as an investigative tool.
Are other local communities using that same system?
Yes,
Okay.
including Franklin, New Berlin,
Okay.
Wauwatosa,
Brookfield.
Brookfield.
They also maintain the cameras for us.
Okay.
Is your goal eventually to get it to all the main road entrances into the city? Is that where we're headed with this?
You're 2 steps ahead of me. Obviously, if you pay attention to Muskego, there's not a lot of, the thoroughfares here, your east-west, your north-south. We could pretty much cover a lot of Muskego for, comparatively speaking, a lot less than, say, a Brookfield, and get 90% of our traffic, both inbound and outbound, and be able to use as an investigative tool. It's been very helpful. Retail thefts have increased exponentially since Fleet Farm's been in town.
So how many more cameras do you think you would want?
I wasn't prepared for that at
No,
this
just
point.
off the top of your head, it's
Off the
fine.
top, I'm asking for 3 to get the south side of the city. I have a kind of a priority wish list, and I want to see how effective it is before I start jumping in and
And see
getting
how
cameras I don't
technology is.
need. And kind of seeing where I'm at. I would venture to say another 3 more, because you just look at the geography of Muskego, Janesville Road, Woods Road, Racine Avenue, Moreland, North Cape, and those are the things that I'm trying to focus on.
Chief, in addition to these stationary cameras, do we have them in the squads?
These are not in the squads, but the automated license plate readers are, which is a different technology, but it is connected to our Axon so that you can search the same database through Flock, and you can track our individual automated license plate reads that we get through what's called Fleet 3, which is the cameras that are in our squad cars.
Thank you.
Well, the reason I bring that up is that I'd like to see you come back to us if we have extra money in the year and get this program off the ground. I mean, I'm into a safe city. I mean, my goal is safe and clean. If we can get the main access points to pull up any trouble before it gets here, I'm all for it, so.
Just as another side note on this specific technology, what it also does is it flags vehicles that are stolen, people that are wanted. Armed robbery flags. As soon as the vehicle enters the city, it alerts the officers in real time and is able to get there and respond to those vehicles that are stolen that are entering our city, so that we can intercept them and make arrests and move forward.
I look at this, if you're getting 3 cameras at $21,000 a year, that's $1 a person living in Muskego. I can't believe anybody would object to that.
It's 3 additional cameras.
I know, but I'm saying you
it's
get
7
3 more.
total.
Yeah, 3 more, I mean, I know it keeps adding up, but crime adds up more than the cameras prices.
Any questions? Objections?
Vest is another one that's an interesting one. In my time as chief, I put 22,000 on here, and that's just based upon historical data. If you look, I put 22,000 for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. The reason why I'm doing that is I'm pulling it out of our operational budget and trying to put it in the capital budget, because every single officer, like we have to replace these every 5 years. In addition, when we get new officers, it's hard to predict going up and down. In addition, anytime somebody new goes onto the suburban critical incident team or that specific vest expires, those are really expensive. So ultimately what I'm trying to do on vests is this is an expenditure that was in my operating, and I'm trying to move it to capital because I think that that's better suited to kind of knock down that operational budget.
How many vests per year does this cover?
That's a good question, and it depends. We're basing it on historical data of like where our needs are. A vest is around $1,000 a piece, for these, but we do get. Thank you, Lisa is saying it's even more than that, but we do get some grant money back for the individual vests. But then the vest for skit, for example, could be anywhere from $1,500 each.
So how long do before they expire?
Roughly 5 years.
5 years? Because I've seen you got 22, even if they're 2,000 a year, that's 10 or 12 a year, right? So how many police officers you have?
We have 41 sworn.
41, so you're doing half every year. You should be able to work that out, I think.
Any questions?
Skit CDU room, I'm going to turn this over to Captain Fonz.
So this is kind of more of a project than a single request. In our current clerical room, we have a really, really nice filing cabinet that was purchased when we built the building. We've now gone paperless, so we don't use it. Part of this project is taking that really nice filing system, moving it to our evidence room so we can store evidence in it. And then we have two very, very nice pallet racking systems that are in our evidence room that I want to take out of there, repurpose, and put in our garage for storage. We have a storage room in our garage that the Citizens Academy Alumni Association uses, our CROs use it, our e-bikes are in there, but there's no storage. Everything's just on the floor. So I'm going to take the two pallet racks from evidence, put those in that storage room. And then also in that storage room is where all the abandoned bicycles in the city end up, and we have nowhere to store those. So part of this is getting a racking system so we can hang bikes. And I mean, it's unbelievable how many bikes we accumulate in the course of 6 months. So it's the bike room. In our garage, we have our SWAT team and then our CDU, civil disturbance team. They have an area in there. I want to take that area and turn it more into a locker room than just having their bags and gear on the floor. Again, it's a very nice space in there for them. And we have some repurposed wire mesh cages in there that just don't assist the team members in organizing their gear, storing their gear. When there's a call, we want to be able to, grab our gear and go, not fumble around on the floor. So with this price too, it's also turning that area into a locker room for our suburban critical incident team members as well as the CDU members. And then in our armory and gun cleaning area, again, Chief Westfall removed ammunition from operational and put it in capital. Well, in our current garage, I have pallets and pallets of ammunition that we kind of need to store in a better place. The armory was designed for that, and the armory has the capacity to hold it. It just doesn't have the shelving to store that down there. So that's also part of this price. And then same with some just gun cleaning supplies. We have a table where we can do all our work, but there's no organization or racking where we can put the supplies for the armorers to access them. And then in our evidence lab, we have evidence techs, and every evidence tech has a very large, essentially oversized tackle box where there's nowhere to, they're too big to store in the cabinets or in the drawers. So part of this as well would also be to assist in organizing the evidence tech gear. This quote came from the Bradford system. This is the people that built our locker room and also supplied the equipment that I talked about utilizing. And because we're part of Sourcewell, it's going to be the best pricing out there.
Questions?
You got quotes on this already or no?
Yes.
Okay.
So that price is all here. Everything I just explained is that one price.
Any other questions?
So it's for moving stuff around and buying the new stuff?
Yes.
That's all
Yep.
included in that? Okay.
And in the clerical area, it's a very high-end filing system, and to save someone that doesn't know what they're doing, trying to take it apart and move it, it's not even worth it.
Questions? Objections?
Page 19, we're going to be on radios. This is something I just want to point out. This year, we moved the handheld radios from 2025 and we pushed it down to 2026. There's going to be an upgrade with the county, and we want to make sure that we're compatible with what's going on with the Waukesha County Communications Center. So we pushed those to 2026. However, we've been slowly increasing our fleet by repurposing our vehicles and trying to make them last longer. Just increasing the numbers for different training cars or different exercises, or when we have those maintenance issues, that we can go back to a different car. So we're asking for 5 new radios for the squads in 2025. But just keep it out there, the handhelds are something that's a big ticket item that's coming down the line.
Didn't we do radios a couple of years ago? No?
Body cams.
Body cams?
That's last year.
Our current handhelds are probably getting close to 15 years old.
Okay.
We did, so oddly enough, radios just appeared in my office one day, and I had to go back and look at some invoicing. They were ordered in 2022. So I don't know if that was potentially what you're referring to, so that was before my time in this position, but it was 4 handhelds and 1 squad radio. So actually, we asked for 5. We only need 4 because from 2022, we finally just got it like 2 weeks ago. So it was kind of a surprise.
Any other questions?
Page 20, you're going to look at radar units, much like outfitting the squad cars. The radar units in our cars are over 10 years old. The technology has increased, and we're looking to make sure that, again, one of the biggest complaints that I get in the city is, we need to do more speed enforcement, and this is going to give the tools to the officers to be able to do those speed enforcements and ultimately get to conviction with Attorney Warchel to make sure that the radar units are functioning properly. This is a preemptive ask. Our radar units, yes, they're currently still working. However, when the technology starts to outdate, you can't replace them if you have problems or issues.
So what streets are we going to sit on?
Yours.
Every time we get an email from you, we address it immediately.
Questions? All right, continue.
Page 21, you're going to look at body-worn cameras. Now, this is a legacy cost. This has already been approved, but we have increased our capacity using body-worn cameras. Specifically, it's our Axon vendor. Axon is the big dog when you're dealing with body cameras, evidence.com, or Fleet 3 that I keep talking about. That's the camera in the squad car specifically that also has the automated license plate reader. Ultimately, we're upped our usage of that to include all of our internal evidence and interview rooms at the police department now run on the same type of camera. So we have one vendor that handles all of our situations. So that's why there's a slight increase, and I need to come back to you for that. And I just also like to point out we did receive a $76,000 grant for going into this body cam system.
So what was the increase?
It was an increase from 76,000 to 96,000.
Is that because we have more cameras as well? Or more
Correct.
officers?
This is an increase of 4 body cameras, and then also an increase of all of our interview rooms.
The price we have is locked, but the only reason it went up is
Right.
because the quantity went up. The unit price is locked, I should say.
And what is the life of the body cam other than someone, breaking it or whatever? But
We're locked in for another 8 years on this specific contract, but as part of the contract that we purchased, it's called a revisit or a refresh, excuse me. So the body cams and the squad cams are going to be replaced during the life cycle of this contract based upon we felt it was in the best interest to make sure that we locked in a specific price over the next 10 years. But then we're getting these automatic upgrades so that we don't have to come back to you every time we need or it breaks. And this includes all the maintenance.
Questions?
Just a couple of things. I think that finishes me up for 2025. Again, I just would like to point out that a couple of items that we pushed off, if you've been paying attention to the game plan, radios, we pushed to 2026. I also have a motorcycle, which is kind of a wish list. I ended up pushing that back based upon need. We'll still continue to evaluate if that's something that we're going to use as a traffic enforcement tool. Dispatch council is also out there, but I will tell you, I'm always doing a cost benefit analysis to make sure where we're at in terms of a replacement of the dispatch council specifically.
now we run our own. I mean, is this the same thing as, not like 9/11 that we're do different from Waukesha County? Is it your dispatch? Is this a separate unit?
This is the dispatch, the technology that's in there, correct. But we pushed that to 2026. And then another big ticket item that, if you want to talk long-term strategy, is we think we have a gem at the range. Other departments are using our range, and we've talked about the range before of like having, because we're in a certain contract until 2027, specifically with the Milwaukee Police Department. Other departments have been using our range because range space is, going away. I'd like to see some upgrades in that capacity and turn it into a regional training center of some kind in the future, if you're thinking about a 5-year plan. So that's just kind of, we've earmarked some money there, but I don't, and those will be open to further discussions.
So didn't we just do something with the range, or was it just
We did.
maintenance upgrades? Is that what it was? or-
We did the upgrades and the maintenance, which is what we had to do to remove all the lead and build the berms, to make it so that there's not the skipping rounds problem, if you recall. Part of that maintenance agreement is like with the Milwaukee Police Department and the FBI was that they built it, but they were in a 25-year lease. And I believe it's up in 2027 when we can renegotiate.
Yeah, the current agreement is up in 2027. The quick history is that the FBI foot the money to build the facility itself, and all the maintenance fell on Muskego. And then City of Milwaukee got involved, and they, in about 2001, Jeff, is that 2001, they gave the city $25,000 and got on the same lease that we're on. So Milwaukee has access to it while we have to maintain it until 2027. Part of the project that we just did was mining the lead out, which was about 8,600 pounds of lead. And if you can kind of put that in perspective of how small a round is, that's a significant amount of lead that was in those berms. So the berms got fixed. It's all fresh now. We have a little bit more checks and balances on it. But like Chief said, this is a very great opportunity for the city to have a regional training facility that could potentially, I don't want to say generate revenue, but that's the opportunity that we have.
Any other questions for you further, Captain? All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you for your continued support.
Hey, I do have one, I see you have ammunition coming up way down the road. So we're still sitting good on ammo from when you bought in?
I have it earmarked on there. If you recall, I switched ammunition as I turned it to a bulk purchase.
Right.
Because supply chain was an issue. When I first took over as chief, we switched it there. I earmarked it on there so that we know that it's coming, but I just push it down the line of, okay, where do we think we're going to have to buy
But
more
we've been
again?
good. We've been sitting on enough.
We currently have enough, and then we also transitioned, if you recall, you helped us with purchasing our weapons. So we now use one caliber of round, one type of system. So we were able to stockpile that, and we have the storage space to do that.
And then it's also a supply chain issue thing they have to pay attention to. So it's a difficult one to try and
I was just
forecast.
surprised it's so far out. You must have bought a lot.
Thank you. Moving on with the agenda. What? Sure. Can you come up and speak in the microphone?
You need me to give my name and address too?
Yes, you do.
Absolutely.
Kathy Chavarati, West 129, South 8837, Boxhorn Reserve Drive. Having been on the other side of the dais for almost a decade, and I'm out here in the audience, and I had one gentleman behind me even ask, and I was questioning, we don't know what this body is recommending in any of these things you just talked about. There was no vote. That's
Correct.
very unusual.
So,
That's not very clear to the public. I'm just pointing that out.
all right. So for the people that are here, I asked if there was questions and objections to any of these items. That's the council's first opportunity to object to it. At the end, when we go through this process, we'll have a public hearing on both the capital and the operating budget. People can come and talk about it, and then the council will do a vote of the whole capital budget.
You
They
and
can
I
make
know that's not
amendments.
the best way. This is
No.
for transparency to the public. I mean, I had the gentleman just ask, and I know there's more capital items still on talking, so, but
And
that's very important.
okay, thanks for sharing that.
Thanks.
The reason we do it this way is because if we vote on everything up or down as we're coming along, the people that go first and get their early approvals, and also we come down at the end, and also, they're either running, we're looking at our overall number, or for whatever reason, if you do it as you go, the people at the end are kind of left out. It's tougher to approve or not approve at that point. Somebody comes through and in the beginning you approve a bunch of widgets. And then at the end you realize, well, wait, we approved the widgets, we probably shouldn't. Yeah, they could modify it then, but it's better I believe it's better the process we're doing. And if council ever wants to change that, we can do that. But this is the process we've been doing for a number of years, so. Moving on. WDNR grant award for idle aisle boat launch replacement and parking lot improvements. Scott?
What page are we on?
I think it's just something he's going to be talking about, explaining.
Oh, it's on the agenda? It's not a capital. Oh, what's that?
It's not a capital.
Oh, okay.
We're moving on from capital.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm working on it. They should be turning on, Scott. Yep.
Hi, how's everyone doing tonight? Good. One side note, Brittany's light poles. So I wanted to come up and comment. We took one apart and took it all the way down. The guts of those poles are pretty much done. We barely could get it back together. It's not, do not ever think that you're gonna just powder coat those things. They're done. So she didn't have all the information, but that is done. There's no recommendation of powder coating them. You would do a full replacement of all those light poles. Okay? Just for clarification. So, what we're here to talk about tonight is sometimes we find opportunities to do grants, and this is an opportunity we did a grant. So, myself, Tammy, Ryan, and Adam Young, there is a boat recreational grant through the Wisconsin DNR. And last week, Monday, we went to Horicon and we presented a grant and request on behalf of the city of Muskego. We had to give a presentation on it. So back in 2023, you guys allowed us to give us $150,000 to replace the 2 boat ramps right here, which we were planning to do this fall. October 7th, everyone's notice is put on notice. We're going to lower the lake a little earlier so that we're able to do that work. So what we did was we looked and we found this grant and we applied for it, and we had to give this presentation about it. And so some of the things that we did at idle aisle parking amenities that we've done, it's got boat launch, it's our major one, boat wash stations, indoor restrooms and open air shelter, accessible fishing pier, kayak launch, swimming beach and playground, picnic areas, paved walk trails, paved parking lots, with boat launch 15 total parking spots, standard parking is 62. The boat launch, that's the trailers, just to let everyone know. Now, all these things give us points as we go and apply for grants. And then some of the things that we've worked on, just our time over time, is we have an accessible walking path around everything. We have 2 wash stations, very important to get your boats clean. We have a new kayak launch a couple years ago. If you go down there, it's really nice. Last year we put new piers in and then the concrete ramps up there. And then all these are great benefits to us. So what we did was we proposed some other improvements, and we asked for double the $150,000 that you gave me, and we got a grant for $150,000. And some of the things that we would look at is, one of the main things is safety. Safety ADA is a huge thing. Well, if everyone's been out there on the north parking lot, if it's not one way, and if you ever try in the summertime to back out, so the proposal, if you look at it, is we'd make this one way around, one way path in, similar to our south, and then we'd lose a bunch of parking spots here and we gain about 10 here. So what we would be looking at is, as you look up in the upper corner, is we gain about 10 additional spots, and we lose, based off of 2 of replacing a lot of asphalt and concrete here, we lose about 1 trailer parking. But what this does is, for safety, police, fire, ambulance, fire truck can pull in this way and make that turn. We've never had that opportunity before. And just, I think everyone knows, this is our busiest park, and during summertime it gets a little crazy. And also, 2, safety for visitors. Trying to back up a car going like this when you have kids and parents going back and forth, it's just not an ideal situation. So the other thing too, it'll allow police to make a nice circular path through, and increases the parking by 10 spots. Again, we always have complaints of not enough parking there. It's not a huge number. We can't add any more than this. If we start adding more, then we have to do some type of stormwater, kind of rain gardens or even like some type of bio retention. This is what our proposal is. The grant we got awarded last Monday. This would be something that I would look to do for Boxhorn when we kind of replace the ramps at Boxhorn and Danoon. There's another one that we talked about. The money's there. It's a very good program. The biggest grant they awarded was to the city of Ashland, $1.2 million. It seems like they average between $3 to $4 million a year for grants. We ranked pretty high. We were in the top, I think, 5 or 6 just on points. Based off of how busy this is. ADA, we charge fees. These are the buzzwords that the committee, the stewardship committee really liked for us. A couple other things, this grant, we're gonna get it in 2, if you guys, first of all, if you want it, if not, we give it back. We will get it in 2 weeks. They said that we can get 50% up front, and the only caveat is to make sure it's a boat launch for the next 20 years, which I don't see this not being a boat launch for the next 20 years. So
So to recap this, we have already given you 150,000 towards, no.
you already gave me the money last year to improve the ramps.
Right, so this is all, that money's gone.
No, we're gonna do the project in fall. They just gave us the extra 150,000.
And how much would this project cost?
So at one point they said we could qualify for 80%, but then they came back after we did it. We have estimates about 350, just to let you know. So we're not gonna we're not gonna be able to do everything. So we probably focus mostly on the north side and make the safety pass, but we try to basically replace as much pavement as we can out there. So
To answer Alderman Wolf's question, the project cost will be around 300,000.
yeah, we're not gonna go over 300,000. That's it.
150 from what we budgeted last year and 150 from the grant.
Yep.
And that's just gonna do that turnaround and change the parking spots for that money. I'm not 100% clear.
Yeah, so what we propose is add this, seal coat this whole area here, put new pavement markings, do the ramps here, make this concrete, so that when your boats, heavy loads.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you here. So what you're saying is this whole project's 300, we approved 150, they're gonna give you 150.
Yep.
So you're not asking for more money, you're just asking for approval to go after the grant.
No, I'm asking you if you want the grant.
To accept.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, accept it. Do you want to accept this grant?
And then there's no other money out of other than future maintenance.
Yeah.
Would you be able to provide us with a copy of the grant application?
Yeah, I got everything you want in the presentations.
Please, thank you.
Alderman Kabaki, you have a question?
No, I just want to comment, no new money, so.
Yeah, no, I'm not asking for money. I'm seeing whether or not you want money, if you want it.
So being devil's advocate, could we take the 150 from the grant and just do what we were going to do last year and not do anything else? Or is that different than what you applied for?
I kind of said that we had shared funds, that we did the 150. Just to let you know that they want us to have skin in the game. I guess no grant was awarded and I can give you the sheet of all the people who got grants. You have to put some money.
I asked the question because I'm sure there's people in the audience wondering.
That's why I was kind of confused on where you're going. I have one comment though. Scott, whenever you want to come back and not ask for money and give us money, you can take the microphone anytime you want.
Yep. I thought this was good. I joked around with the other guys who just asked for money and women, and I just, they asked, I said, I would like to give you money if you want it. So.
Is this if this is an 80-20 project, maybe
I can only do 50-50. 80-20, we're in the wrong place. Ashland, way up there, theirs was an 80-20, so their project was 1.5 million. They got $1.2 million.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I can't use this for dredging either. It is recreational, like boat launch, kayak launch, piers, I can't do anything with dredging.
And this is not going to really affect the park at all? I mean, okay, just so being upfront.
Any other questions?
Alderman Decker.
Where are these funds, where is the grant money coming from?
So they have this boat recreational stewardship. I don't know where the funds come from. It's the DNR's program. So we work with our local DNR representative, and it's throughout the whole state. And then they, on behalf of us, we do the grant, they propose it, and then there's 4 people that I think were appointed by, I'm assuming, the governor, and we go in this room.
Ultimately, the money's coming from the DNR. Where they're getting
Correct.
their funding for, we don't know.
Yeah, and these 4 stewards award this. DNR doesn't even award it. The 4 stewards who, they don't work for the DNR, they're just appointed people.
And there's no strings attached.
Yeah, there was. We have to make
Just
sure it's a
the-
boat launch for 20 years.
Alderman Decker, you,
Still would like to see a copy of the grant application.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
when do you need approval by us?
Well, it's coming in 2 weeks. The grant, they're going to send it to you
So
soon.
if I put it-
I mean, if you guys don't want to take, I mean, I'll just give it back to them. I mean, again, guys, I just
ideally,
got
I think
awarded
so,
this
yes.
Monday of last week. I mean, I got awarded Monday of last week,
can
so it's
we-
not like,
Can we just accept this and you can look at it, and if you have objections, you can get back to us? I mean, I don't know what you guys are thinking.
Frankly, I'd like to see it before.
Who would address the?
Oh, we have next week, we're coming back next week.
We're coming back next week. Can you accept it then?
sure, it hasn't even come yet. I mean, even if we get it, we probably could just tell them, no.
All right, we'll put it on a council for a resolution next week. That way you'll have time to look at it. Anything else on this one? Does anyone need any other information before next week on this? All right, thanks, Matt.
Yep.
You might want to sit there. I'm not sure if they're going to have any other questions for these last 2. Sorry.
Yep.
Next item is former police station discussion. So first of all, I'm going to apologize because the majority of council wanted this. And once we applied for a grant, and we were going to use that as our discussion point once we knew what was going on that. We don't have that information yet. So we don't have anything new to bring forward on this. However, I do want to point out that my operating budget that is going to be coming next week, I have in there essentially to mothball the building, take all the operating out of it. We're going to winterize it so we don't have any cost on it. And because we also don't have any funds to tear it down right now. So you guys don't want to proceed, do want to proceed. At least the building is essentially where it's at right now and not costing us anything like it is right now. So at least it gives you something. So I just want to let you know that's going to be in my operating. You guys can take that out or put it back, but the one I present to you is going to have that in there. So I guess at this point, my recommendation will be to not, because I'm looking to try to save on operating, I really don't support doing anything going forward with it. Now, if we get that grant in October and say we get a $4 million grant for it, we could do a cost analysis of if there's going to be any revenue that would cover the operating on it. And if it does or doesn't, make a decision on then. But I would say without that grant, I just don't see how it's financially viable right now. So with that being said, is there anything else you want to talk about on this thing?
Mayor, I would like to see a copy of the grant application for that as well.
You have already. We gave that to you a month ago.
Okay. For the grant, the application for the grant.
We gave it to you a month ago.
Okay.
So we talked about this in June at the cow.
Sure. June, July, I don't remember.
Yeah, June,
Sure.
June 3rd. And at that time, we had talked about you coming back to us at some point with possible survey information.
That's going to be a capital item that I'm going to bring forward next week.
Okay, but all we wanted was information on the cost of a survey.
Right.
That's all we wanted.
And that's what
We
I'm
still haven't seen that.
And that's going to be a capital item that I'm bringing forward next week.
Okay. So now you're again, talking about this grant, which none of us talked about a grant. There was no information about a grant, and then you're applying for a grant. I mean, Rob said this at the cow on the 3rd. You know, we had 4 aldermen that were not in favor of proceeding with this. We had 3 that were maybe on the fence. And I feel like you're trying to push something forward behind everybody's back. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like you're trying to buy off grant money to convince us to do something with this old police station.
I think we have, both staff and myself have an obligation to look towards any way we can save the taxpayers' money, and grants are a way that local units of government do that. We applied for a grant. There's no harm in applying for a grant. We get it, we take it, or we don't take it. There's no skin in the game on it. We bring it forward, and you guys can make a decision on what you want to do. In the meantime, as I said, in the operating budget, I'm sealing off, essentially I'm going to winterize the building. We can still use it for cold storage, but beyond that, it won't have any other use. It won't cost us anything sitting there, and it allows you to, once you get the grant, you can decide if you do or don't get the grant, and you can decide what to do on it. Either way, we don't have the funds to tear the building down right now. So the best way to do that is encapsulate or winterize the building so it doesn't move forward.
And what does that cost to encapsulate the building?
Do we have any numbers on that yet? No. Yes.
I'm sorry, I do not have any numbers on that. I don't.
But we know we have money for that, but we don't, I mean, how much is it to tear it down?
To winterize that building isn't that expensive. I mean, it's.
Okay, you're gonna be under $100,000. Destroying that building, taking it down, making sure we have asbestos, you're probably anywhere between, let's say $750,000. You gotta fill a hole, you gotta remove it, you gotta asbestos. I mean, when you take down a building, it just costs a lot too. So, but to winterize it, again, I'm not touching anything. I'm shutting off the electric, except for the lights just for that. We flush all the lines. We do, and try to do as much as we can ourselves. But demolition's a different animal. Because I'm assuming you want some type of asphalt or something back there. You can't just leave a hole. We got to figure out that too. So it's going to be way cheaper just to winterize it than to take it down. I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just telling you the facts.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, it is cheaper to do that at this point, but versus taking it down is more expensive even with a grant to build one.
Again,
so if we don't have money, to tear it down, how are we going to have money to build one?
Well, that's where if you get the grant to do it, and say they give you $4 million towards the grant, because that's what the maximum award can be in the grant. You get $4 million, you build, and you want to do something, and we can demonstrate that whatever we do with it would have enough revenue generating to sustain the building. Those are all things all of you need to take into consideration.
Well, I don't get a vote on this. I think we've been there in consideration.
Yeah, we've already talked about this.
My concern is that when we have a cow, we're setting a new standards that we didn't really want to move forward with this. So we're going to take no's and try to turn them in yeses. So now when someone has the opposite view and they say yes, and everybody else and only 3 say no, then do we take the time to try to get everybody to go to the no side? So we're on a very thin line right here with this. And I feel that maybe my vote didn't count, and really it should count, and our direction was not followed. I understand what you're trying to give us or sell us, your obligation and all that, but the obligation is at the cow level. When we give directions and we kind of want to go a direction, that we're not respected for that. So I think there's a major fine line here of how this is being handled. And I personally did not agree with it. I think from the beginning, before we had some new council members, we were still in the direction of not doing anything with this. And we're still going down the path. Unfortunately, Kathy, hate to say, we took way too long with that building out there. We should have did something a long time ago. But again, I think our vote is not respected in here, and that's a feeling that you can't change me on that. You can try to sell me.
Yeah, it's 100%.
One at a time, and I'll recognize, but I want to respond to that. First of all, I guess I'll need direction from the council, because if in the future you decide not to do something for financial reasons, and that was what was the main discussion on there, and the next day somebody walks in our office and says, you possibly can get this paid for, don't I have an obligation to bring that back to you? And if I don't, I want to know, not just from Alderman Wolf, but I want to know from all of you that we should just ignore that going forward, because I'll do that. But I think you're not representing your taxpayers properly by doing that. If, say we needed to buy this fire truck and we said we can't afford it and we didn't buy it, and the next day someone came in with a grant and that would cover half of that. Don't I have an obligation though, even though you guys said no to that, of saying we have a possibility of getting this covered?
No, because Rick,
You haven't been recognized.
can I be recognized, please?
As soon as I'm done talking. So that, I believe that's what I should be doing, and if we're not doing that as elected representatives, we're doing a disservice to the taxpayers. Alderman Schrader.
Okay, Rick, we didn't at that cow determine any need for this building. There was no need determined. Tammy gave some information. We got a little bit of information about a couple people asked for a building here and there, or asked for a program here or there. We have no numbers, no facts, no reason to even go forward in any way, shape, or form with this building. We were given nothing. We were given a little presentation from Tammy. I went and sat in Tammy's office. I took the time and I went to talk to Tammy. Tammy told me all kinds of things that are just irrelevant to needing this building. I mean, there is no need for this building. We have so many needs with roads and fire trucks and all kinds of things we really need for this community. This is a want. This is based on somebody's want. And actually at that cow that night, I asked about a grant. And I was told by you, we don't have time to apply for grants. We don't have people to do this kind of things. And then all of a sudden, here you got a grant. And you want to change this conversation with bribing us with money. It's ridiculous, Rick.
I don't know how I'm bribing you, but Alderman Kabaki.
If I recall that meeting, we had no vote. We had merely a discussion about the building.
Common cow meeting.
Excuse me?
Common cow meeting. We do this all the time.
I'm sorry, Rob, I was speaking.
One at a time.
Yeah. So we had no vote at that meeting, nor did we have an idea that there could be a grant out there. To me, that changes the whole picture. Is if you've got a building out there that needs to be done with, either destroyed or sold or revamped, to me, you have to have the whole deck in front of you before you can make a decision. And we didn't have the whole full deck at that point in time. We will once this grant comes in. And maybe there's money, maybe there's not, maybe there's a need, maybe there's not. That's a future discussion. Thank you.
Alderman Wolf.
But we did have direction. Direction was to redo a survey that you actually told us, your survey, that nobody wanted it. And so we've been prolonging this way too long. And we're prolonging it now to try to get a solution that some of us want and some of us didn't want in the beginning. And that's where we're at. And that's the part where I keep saying that I don't believe that what I stood for in that cow meeting was respected. And I don't believe right now, from the comments I just heard, it was respected.
So these are interesting discussions on that. Where we're at on the police department, it looks like we're pretty much on the same page. I mean, unless somebody's going to drop a bunch of money, and I still think that should be something that should be talked about. But if you guys don't, I guess I want the direction. What do I do in the future if someone offers us a different funding source than the taxpayers to pay for something that was determined that, and irregardless to what Alderman Schrader said, because some people, Alderman Hamel was one of them, that didn't want to do it because of cost. Why? What should I do in a case like that? Should I just ignore it and not bring that forward?
There's no need been determined.
I believe that you have an obligation to bring that forward.
I agree with that.
I think we're talking about different situations. This situation was more clear than you're trying to make it believe it was. And we left it with, well, we really don't want one, but you want to do another survey to see what the community says, okay, we'll do that. And that's kind of where we left it, not really trying to go out and spend all this money and get a grant and all that, but whatever.
Could I be recognized? For clarification, we didn't even agree to a survey. we agreed to getting pricing on a survey. There was no survey approved, there was nothing approved.
And the last I checked, we have not had a survey done. We are bringing it forward as a capital item for you guys to discuss. You'll have the numbers, you'll have the scope, you'll have, what we can all cover on that. And you decide if you want to do it or not, which was exactly a majority of the COW's direction that night, was to come forward with pricing for a survey.
Right.
And that's exactly what I'm planning on doing.
Okay, well, I have to say too, I was messaged by constituents that it was put in the monthly mayor's corner that there was a survey coming out that, as if it was already approved by us.
Said if the
that a survey was coming out.
All right, are you done? So I don't want to interrupt you, and I apologize.
Well, no, I wasn't done, but you said a survey was coming out. I had people calling me, where's the survey? Did I miss the survey? And you're talking about a survey that hasn't even been approved.
So it's unfortunate you don't read the newsletter, but in the newsletter itself, it did say if the Common Council approves the funding for a survey, these are the things that we need to talk about as a community.
That is not what it said.
There's 100 copies of it in the next room.
I just have one quick comment. I'm losing my train of thought here. I got to get my thought back together here. Just give me a minute. Anybody else got something?
I mean, we're spinning our tires here. I'm on the same page as you guys. I don't think we should go forward with it. However, if somebody drops a bunch of money, offers us a bunch of money, I think you should at least have the discussion to say yes or no to it.
And I don't have a problem with that. I think I have the problem in the delay of the process because where we left it and where we are today. And I think you sent out an email or maybe it was a text. And we got back to you, we wanted it on a sooner meeting, and this meeting has been.
Well, actually, I apologize because the majority of the council, I surveyed the council because somebody asked to have it put on for an agenda item, and they gave a specific date, and I surveyed the council with, do you want to have the discussion once we have all our information, or do you want to have it now? So a majority of the council came back and asked for us to wait until October when we had the information. It accidentally got put on today's agenda. It's my fault. I missed it when it was added by accident, and it shouldn't have even been here today, but it is.
So how many council members does it take to have something added onto a COWR agenda?
One, but it was asking for a specific date. So then I just surveyed, do you want it now or later?
So then again, I was one who asked for it to be up right away.
Right.
And I don't know who else. And I know you said you're going to go to the next date, which it didn't happen. Again, how many members does it take to get it to the next? I mean, we got to have some type of system that we're following here, that if somebody requests something, it should be added on, and not for the convenience of trying to go to the next level. We can still put it on and discuss that you're waiting for grant money. It should be put on. When someone requests something, we should have it on in a timely manner. In this one, I believe it was not timely.
It was asked for one of two meetings, and this would have been this is the second meeting that was asked for.
For some reason, I disagree with that.
Carrie?
No.
This would have been last week's meeting that got.
How long ago was the cow? June. We asked right after June. I mean, we're almost October.
It was asked to either be put on the August 27th meeting or the September 10th.
Actually, my response to you was next meeting. Now, there was no dates, as I'd like it to be on the next meeting. Your response was to move it further out.
I'll go into the power of one as an alderman. The majority ruled.
Yeah, I asked for it on the.
Took a survey, Rick, instead of respecting the person that wants to put it on the next agenda.
I asked for it to be on the 24th or on the 10th, the first item on the meeting, on the agenda, and I was.
I've got 4 people that would say they.
That's because you took it to a survey, Rick.
We don't have all the information. We've beat the horse. The horse is dead.
What are we sitting here arguing
Can
about?
we move on, please?
I mean, this is stupid.
I'd like to call for a vote. I really would like to call for a vote on this.
What are we voting?
I would like to call to tear down the police building.
When?
As soon as possible.
Well, I need more specifics on it. If you're going to make a motion, get specifics on it.
When the funds are available, I'm not sure when that will be, but I would like to have it torn down.
That's awful. Can I even act on that?
Well, we have to bring it up to council after this, but We're still in the cow, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's pretty easy what she's bringing up. I mean, you understand what she wants to do. You just got to word it.
It's got to be worded in a way that I can act on it.
Well, we have an attorney here.
You guys got to be careful. Do you realize what's all going on here? I mean, what the public's kind of looking and seeing. I mean, there's a lot more going on here than just you guys are arguing over things that don't seem to really make any sense. Okay, it's here tonight. It got here tonight. I caution you to just do something without thinking this through. I agree with what's been said about you don't have all the information. I know you think that there's something else going on here. I don't agree with that, but I caution you to just make a decision that is not really thought out. There's time on this. That building's been sitting there. But if that's what you want, it's here on the floor, if you want to make a decision to do something with it, then the motion would be that I guess you're asking for, you got to have a little more than just, I want to tear the building down. There's no cost. There's no anything on this. Are you just going to willy-nilly say, let's tear a building down because I want a building torn down? Without any more information from Scott, from anybody about what this is going to cost, there's going to be asbestos. There's tons of issues here.
Can I make a recommendation? If you want to proceed down that route, make a motion to refer this to Public Works, where you can get all the information. They can run through the process, and at that point, you're going to have a finished packet and resolution by the time it gets to council with actual numbers and everything else. We work through the committees that way. It's done the right way.
I thought we were given numbers on this, that it was about $100,000 or something roughly to tear it down.
100,000,
500.
like close to $1 million.
Well, it was half of that.
So I just gave you estimates, and it was right around probably $750,000.
The first estimate was a half million or less.
And just so you know, those are rough estimates. Like, there's no detail stuff with this. If you want an actual number, I'm going to have to do some really in-depth research.
Which is why I'm asking to have it go through the committee.
Which I can. You just got to get me.
We can get you all your information you want, but let's do this the right way.
That's kind of what I'm saying. What is the reason to tear this down tonight? Well,
Jeff,
we don't have the money. We're literally going to have to borrow money.
This is where you do argue things at a cow meeting. So you should recognize that as an attorney. This is where we do argue things. So I'm not following 100% everything, other than you want to get it more procedural is what you're trying to accomplish.
Hey, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I suggest, I think what's going on here is we want to vote on whether we're going to do it or not. If we're going to vote it, can we just vote it down tonight and then worry about how to get rid of the building?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
what do you mean vote what down?
We're not going to turn the police department into anything. We're not going to move forward with anything.
Just one of you, someone can make a motion to either refer this to a committee or refer it to council to do something. So if you're interested in having us to do a resolution where we don't plan on doing anything with the building, or if you want it actually torn down. If you want it torn down, I would respectfully ask that you do this through our committee process, which would be Public Works, and that way you can have we can get all the information, what's all entailed in doing that, with the asbestos, and have a report, and so you know what you're doing. Or you can if you want to just essentially do what I'm going to be proposing through my operating budget of winterize the building, close it up, and just use it for cold storage until such a time where you decide what you're going to do with it. That you can just make a referral to the Common Council, and we can do a resolution for that, because there's not a lot of information needed for that.
And I do believe that we need to move it into cold storage right now. I mean, we do that every year, don't we? Don't we do that every year or no? Or we just keep it lightly maintained?
We keep it lightly maintained, but that garage is full just of DPW equipment
I understand that.
We use that all the time.
But right now it is also being used by Park and Rec, Police Department uses it for training, everything else, so all that will cease. And I just, which is not a big deal, but I don't want to be paying the operating that we're paying on it right now.
So you can kill the survey, you can kill the grant, you can do all that. Just why do you have to make the decision right now without information from your engineer to tear a building down?
Well, I make a motion that we defer this until we have all the information about both the destruction of the building, if that's a possibility, and also about the grant. Without that,
Now,
I can't
in
make a decision.
due respect, we did try to get a motion on the floor first that was being disputed, so I would have to make sure that her request would be honored before yours.
There wasn't a suggested motion.
She was trying to make one, and they shot it down.
She was trying to make a motion?
I've been here listening for a half hour. I have not heard one word that you can use the building for something. So if you're not gonna use it for anything, just table it for now. But so far, in a half hour, I don't even know if you could use the building. And I've wasted a half hour on my life. You guys are ridiculous.
This has been building up for many meetings, ma'am.
So I've made that motion.
I would second it.
Wait, hold on, what is?
Wait, is that fine, Deb? I feel that Deb never had an opportunity to do what she wanted to do. I just want to make sure that she's heard.
All right, we'll go back to Alderman Schrader. Do you want to make a motion?
Well, I was trying to make
Make your motion.
I was trying to make a motion to just get rid of the building, tear the building down. Then I was told I needed dates and whatnot. I do recall when we were meeting back on the 3rd and maybe even at prior meetings, Rick coming to us with numbers, that he had numbers on getting rid of this building. So that has to be somewhere because we did talk about the numbers.
He had estimates.
We should go back to the old notes.
Those are just estimates. That's all it was. I asked for estimates. There was no official multiple bids. It was calling a couple
Everything that we vote
contractors.
on is on estimates. We
they're
have
not.
estimates on how much things cost.
They're more involved in this. We didn't have anyone go in and inspect the building to make sure, to see what kind, I mean, before they're gonna give you a hard number on demolishing a building, they're gonna go through and see what kind of hazardous materials are involved in it. What the subsoils are worth, what they have to fill, what kind of foundation is in it. It's a lot more involved. We have a rough estimate that could vary greatly.
So how much do you want to spend on tearing the building down? In your motion, you could say, I want to tear the building down at a cost of, and you're just guessing, but if
Okay.
that's what you want to do.
All right, I'm making a motion to tear the building down at a cost of $500,000.
And do you have a time frame on that?
By next spring, by March or April of next year.
Is there a second?
So let's make March 31st of,
Well, you got winter.
2025.
We'd be able to do that during the winter.
all right, so the motion on the table would be to tear the building down at a cost of not to exceed $500,000 by March 31st of 2025. All you need to do now is vote on that.
No, we need a second.
I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Wait.
I'll second.
Alderman Decker seconded. So I want to remind you that we do not have the funds for that unless you to take $500,000 out of here that we're approving, or we borrow it. So knowing that.
Which is the same as if we were to build a new building, would be started next year.
I'm
We
not
don't have the
recommending
funds for
building
it.
a new building without getting money thrown.
For the whole new building is off. That's all done. It's all, the survey's off. All you're voting on is you want to tear down this building at a cost of $500,000 by March 31st of 25. And the mayor says you don't have the money. So that's what you're, I wouldn't
Not at
recognize
this
the
point.
public at this.
Actually, I'd like to hear what the former mayor would
Yeah, I
have
would
like to
too.
say.
Is there any objections to the former mayor coming up? It only takes one.
No objection.
All right.
Thank you for letting me come up again, Kathy Chavarati. It's very difficult sitting out there and I'm listening to everybody complain. You know, I've never seen a good leader would help guide
right, if we're
something
gonna
here.
start with-
I just want to
No.
say, stop. No, listen.
No, don't tell me to
a
stop.
motion. No, I'm speaking.
I don't care at this point. You're not going to come up here and use this as a political stunt. If you want to say something germane to our conversation,
Okay,
you
the
can do that.
conversation is that there doesn't need to be, I'm going to make this clear to each and every alderman, you do not have to tie a date, and you do not have to tie a dollar amount. You can just make a motion and have it move forward and come back with the cost at a later date. There's semantics going on or something here that's extremely difficult, but you can make a motion without having all these strings attached. So that's all I want to tell you. And I really wish things would be a lot clearer for the public, because it sure isn't.
I agree with you.
Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
That's true. I was going to bring that up before the vote anyway.
So we have a motion and a second.
I'd like to, we have a second. Can I alter the,
You can make a motion to amend.
or you want to amend your motion?
Yeah, I would just, like I said before, I just want to make a motion to tear it down and vote on tearing it down, and then we'll get all the information about tearing it down for the next meeting.
So, God, I can't make this up. So where do you want this referred to? I mean, we have to get, all right, one more outburst and I'm going to have you removed.
Well, she's correct.
All I'm asking for is, what committee do you want this referred to get that information? That's all I'm asking for. That's all.
DPW can.
So you want it to go to referred, so you make a motion to have it torn down and
Correct.
to Public Works.
Correct.
All right, thank you. That's all I asked for that a while ago.
Can I please have with this motion?
The motion, the motion is.
Motion is to tear the old police station down
Referring
and
this.
referring this to Public Works for quotes on.
Further discussion.
All right, you had a first and a second on the other thing, so this is an amendment now to,
Well, if we can get the second to agree, we're fine.
okay.
Do you agree?
I agree. I agree
So
with the new
The
motion.
first motion's completely gone.
It's gone? Okay, so this one, okay, oh my gosh. And then, what was the last part of it? I already-
It's being referred to Public Works. It's, the motion is to
Oh, and to
just
discuss
take the
later,
building
discussion.
and refer to Public Works for details.
Okay.
And it'll come up through the process.
All right, everybody know what you're voting on?
We're voting on something with no fiscal note attached to it, just so I understand.
But that's why
that.
we're referring it to Public Works, so she can get all
Totally
that information
irresponsible.
properly.
Restate the motion, would you please, City Attorney?
Yeah, you want me to do it? Sure. The motion is to tear the building down and to refer, so you're going to agree to tear it down and then refer this to get information on how much it's going to cost and everything. You're referring it to the Department of Public Works. That information can come back whenever you want it to come back, however long Scott thinks he can turn this around. So why don't we go there too? How long do you think you can?
We'll get that when it goes to this. Just stay on. We'll go back to that.
Does this go to the next cow then?
It can't, because he won't have that information that fast.
So
That's why the timeframes
Can
were
I-
nice, but you guys don't want timeframes, so you.
I just got a question for you. I understand completely that this building's got to go. I get it.
I agree.
But I don't understand how we can make this motion without having a clue
You're referring it
when
to.
can we make the motion
No,
and
see,
accept it,
can I-
not knowing if we can do it in 25 or
So
28?
to Alderman Schrader's defense, the motion she has right now is she wishes to see the building torn down. She's referring it to Public Works for the further discussion, and the details about that will come through Public Works at that point. And
Okay,
then
so
Public Works will either approve or not approve it. It's going to move through the system. It'll come on, and then it'll be on a council agenda where a final resolution with all the details can be discussed, debated, and voted on, but you'll have all the information at that point. So that's why I asked her to have it referred to some committee, and Public Works is the most viable one to do that.
Okay.
And you may find with that information, this won't be the best thing to do, but at least you'll have the information, which makes a lot of sense. That's why you're referring it to Public Works.
All I want is clarity, that's all. So,
We taking a roll call vote?
roll call vote.
Alderperson Wolf?
So if I vote yes, I'm voting for it.
Correct, that it's going to be
Yes.
referred.
Alderperson Decker?
Yes, supporting the motion to move it to the committee.
Alderperson Schwer?
No.
Alderperson Schrader?
Yes.
Alderperson Kabaki?
No.
Alderperson Madden?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we need to beat up the grant anymore? We pretty much covered both of them.
Well, if you're going to bring it to Public Works and for discussion, and you have the information, I still think it should be all presented, but I might be wrong. Am I wrong? Is that not part of the motion?
The
grant?
motion was to move it to Public Works.
Right. So you're going to still bring the grant involved with that? Is that, just so I understand where it's going?
No, the motion right now is to tear the building down. We don't, the grants.
Why would you want the grant?
You just said no to the grant by doing
Okay,
it.
that's, okay, I didn't know if we applied, if we got it or what. I'm just double checking if that'd be part of the conversation. I don't want it, but I just want to know where we're
No.
at. Okay.
That's why I asked it, number
Just
4.
cancel 4, forget the
Okay.
grant.
Issue anymore. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
You get a second?
Rob?
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Committee of Holes adjourned at 7:30.